Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we'll go from Earth 616 to the Mojoverse to the TVA, and tonight to Hell's Kitchen in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm the nerd with the mouth, David.
Alliance Assemble.
Assemble.
200, volume 278, and it's a trend we're going. Yeah, Marvel Studios just doesn't want to talk about anything.
No, they are taking holiday time to be with family and not give us any information.
Yep, and if you just tuned in at this point and wondered, wait, Chris's mic was weird and now it's not, well, I just fixed it. So good thing I did a quick check on that. So sorry for the intro on that one, but yes, now the mic is correctly matched up. But yeah, so Marvel just doesn't care much for us, doesn't want to talk about it, doesn't want to give thanks to us, the work we do to promote what they put out, and so now could have we could have not done a show tonight, but we don't want to do that. We could have put on other Patreon content. Nah, we're gonna give that for the patrons. We want to cannibalize that, but we're gonna do something that I know Brent and I had talked about doing, maybe for a Patreon episode way back in the day. And you know what? You put an idea out there for let's do a retro review of a movie, and it was a good idea, but the particular movie we'll keep that one a secret. I've got to do a decent rewatch of, and yeah, it's yeah, well, we said let's have some fun. Let's look at Daredevil from 2003 and have some fun breaking this movie down, including all the stuff about the director's cut. So yeah, I think it could be a lot of fun, and we are appropriately dressed. Maybe not wearing Ben Affleck stuff, but we're decked out in our thing. Yes. Hopefully it wasn't too quiet. I'm gonna have to warn Travis. He may have to do a little bit of extra thing to boost the volume on that, but you know,
Yeah.
things happen, right?
Yep. So I don't have anything Ben Affleck Daredevil around here. I went looking through. I've got some other Daredevil stuff in my little Daredevil display up here, including some Funkos, but nothing Ben Affleck related. So it's just got some straight up Daredevil and some Charlie Cox Daredevil, but nothing Ben Affleck. So we had to keep on theme, just close but not quite.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting at that point. But yeah, how's been your week?
Week has been good, just counting down to the holidays. So have work potluck tomorrow, and then after that, 2 more days of work next week, and then I am scot free to just sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, it's been busy at work. I've got the in-laws in town right now, but they won't be staying for Thanksgiving. They're going to be heading back to their place in Florida, to as they're snowbirds from New York, so they've got their place in Florida, so they're going to be enjoying the warmer weather, but happy to have a good couple of days off from work. But how about the kids? Are the kids looking forward to it?
Kids are looking forward to not being at school, and they are looking forward to, because with their school they are out pretty much all week, so they have teachers work days and other reasons to not be there, so they get the whole week, and they are just very excited to sit around and eat and play Fortnite and not have to deal with anything else.
Well, sounds like they're about to have a good time as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to all the good Thanksgiving food, but yeah, American Thanksgiving, so that is coming up. But before we get into the proper breakdown of Daredevil from 2003, let's do the lovely network plug. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with 6 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance network on Twitter at GUAPod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got 2 tiers. Our dollar tier is our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And then our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows. We've got a couple of shows on there in the back catalog. First is We Can Watch This All Day, the Marvel Alliance Infinity Saga rewatch. Then we have Tales from the House of X. We're watching our favorite films from the Fox era of X-Men. And then the Baxter Broadcast, the Fantastic Four retro film reviews. We also have DC Alliance doing their DC film through the years. We have Joe doing his Multiverse Minutes Disney deep dives on the 1st and the 15th, looking at the animated classics from Disney in chronological order. and a lot of back content out there. So we want to thank our patrons. We cannot do this without your support. And if if you're not a member of our Patreon and you want to join, go to www.patreon.com/GUA network so you get all that great content. But if you're not a member of our Patreon, we totally understand. But if you want to take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcast, we greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPrizeBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. That's going to be panel-bound. You say it for so long, it just goes off the tongue. So panelboundcomics.com for all your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the Credo as PBC have got it going on with excellent customer service, immaculate packaging, ships around the world. And again, wrapping up pretty soon this pre-order cutoff for Wolverine Not Dead Yet Omnibus, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Volume 3 Omnibus, Star Wars Legends Legacy Omnibus Volume 1. A lot of great stuff. We got 2 codes you can use. Use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order, or use the code MGUASIT for 5% off when you order 4 or more books together. It lets them know you're a listener. We want to thank them for being our official sponsor. All right. So, like we said, news this week has been light, but we also we will be taking next week off, as we were just talking about American Thanksgiving coming up next Thursday. Typically, even before David came on board, Brent and I would take that night off, that week off, unless there was a big show. And I think it's been rare when we've had to put out an episode if there was a show going on. So we'll be taking next week off. There will be no drop at all for Marvel Alliance next week. So enjoy that time if you celebrate American Thanksgiving. We will be back on Thursday, December 4th at the same Marvel time, same Marvel channel. So enjoy that time with it, and just have some fun, eat some good food, right?
Yeah, go out and enjoy family, football, whatever you may do on that Thursday, or just chill out, do everyone. I know for me, about this time in a week, I will be sitting on someone's couch wishing that I was asleep.
Yep, I got to get all that Christmas shopping done. I'm usually pretty good. The last couple of years, I've gotten most of my Christmas shopping, if not all of it, done before maybe even Black Friday rolls around. Yeah. But hey, Andrew, welcome to the show. All right, so our main topic, our only topic tonight, is breaking down and reviewing the 2003 movie starring Ben Affleck and Jennifer Gardner, and a little known actor. I mean, he did some couple of things there. Plays Bullseye. What's his name now? What might have. Colin Farrell. Yeah, you might know him from doing a couple of things, but at that point, playing Bullseye. Michael Clark Duncan playing Kingpin. So this was the first live-action movie with Daredevil and Ben Affleck playing the title character of Matt Murdock and Daredevil. So, did you see this in theaters?
I did see this in theaters, and then until we've got the new art incarnation, I watched this pretty regularly. Between the original release and then the director's cut. I watched both of them pretty regularly for a while because I love the character of Daredevil, and this was all that I had at the time. So
yeah, I had very distinct memories. I want to say I was in college. I know I was in college at the time, and I think this was a movie that my dad had come up and wanted to see the movie with me at this point. And I still like this movie. I like the theatrical cut, and I really do like the director's cut. And we're going to be talking about both tonight. It was good. Yes, I didn't love it unequivocally. I still have the same problems I have, as the still same problems I have when I watch it. But you know what? It gave me the first time seeing Daredevil on the big screen, and I still celebrate the soundtrack for this movie. I will work out. This is one of those rare ones. I mean, it is rare when I love every single song on a movie soundtrack. Man, this soundtrack hits, and it hits hard. It is a great one to go to the gym, run. I don't care. I probably it is on a good rotation on my my Apple Music playlist.
Yeah, I had told somebody earlier I was rewatching just for a couple of scenes I wanted to grab a quick note on that I knew specifically what scenes I was looking for. But then at one point I was doing something else. I was watching this and I told somebody, I was like, hold on, Evanescence is coming on. I'm about to zone out. I'm just letting you
It's
know.
it's just, but see, I like the redo of the Evanescence with the rock mix. This is like the original, which isn't bad. But when I heard the remix with the kind of the rock hit at the end, that one's my favorite. But yeah, Fifth Jack agrees. Yes, that soundtrack was amazing, loaded with some heavy hitters. I mean, it's pure early 2000s, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely you can feel it in there from the moment that everything starts. You're just like, nostalgia.
Yep, and it's all good. But yeah, um, so definitely saw, and I'm, like we're saying, we both enjoyed it at the time, and I didn't even know of anything of a director's cut until it actually came out. So, I have both, and I prefer the director's cut.
I absolutely, this is one of those things, and I mean, I joke with Brent about it all the time, but this is definitely one of those movies, one of the small handfuls where I will definitively say the director's cut is better.
And I,
He very
and I
much
can't,
does not like director's cuts, and I tell him, I go, you have to at least what the director's cut is better.
and I can't remember, and he'll have to message us saying, has he? I know he toyed around with it. I don't know if he's actually done it yet. If actually watching this director's cut. So we'll have
Yeah,
to.
I'm messaging him right
No, there we
now.
go. We'll get the live footage. Yeah, let's do a little bit of behind the scenes stuff before we kind of get into it. So pulling it up. So Guy Pearce was offered the lead role but turned it down as comic book movies were not really his bag. Pearce would later change his mind by taking the pivotal role of Dr. Aldrich Killian in Iron Man 3. Matt Damon turned down the lead role as he didn't have enough faith in the script or director. We're noticing a trend here. Ben Affleck was cast as Daredevil because Kevin Smith, who also appears as Kirby the Lab Tech, suggested him to writer-director Mark Steven Johnson. Smith directed Affleck in 6 films from the VSQ universe and said, I think he can play anything. People are like, Jaws 5, I'm like, Affleck. Affleck plays the effing shark. Yeah, see, at that time, yeah, he was putting him in everything at that point because he thinks he's a good actor, and I agree. Ben Affleck. Now, here are some of the people who did either audition or were considered. Now, Stana Katic had auditioned for Electra Nachos. Now, if you are a fan of the show Castle, she was the lead detective in Castle. Kate Winslet, Jerry Ryan, Nicole Kidman, Penelope Cruz, Selma Hayek, Natalie Portman, Lucy Liu, Jessica Alba, Katie Holmes, Mia Maestro, Rona Mitra, Jolene, Monica Bellucci, oh my goodness, Belushi, Elza, Eliza Dukshu, and Nev Campbell were all considered before casting of Jennifer Garner. That's like the who's who of like late '90s, early 2000s.
That timing, yeah, that timing, because Eliza Dushku was like the it girl
Oh
at that
gosh,
time.
I had such a
So
crush on her.
I can't imagine her in this role, but thinking back to that timing, you'd be like, "Yep, I could see them wanting to cast."
Oh yeah, when she was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I said yes. Nope, move over, Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yes, I'm all about faith. So, the core storyline was based on Frank Miller's story arcs. The introduction and flashback was taken from his miniseries Daredevil: Man Without Fear, and many of the sequences follow John Romita Jr.'s artwork shot for shot. The Elektra storyline occurred in Miller's original run on the comic in the early 1980s. In Marvel canon, the film, along with Elektra in 2005, is classified in taking place in Earth 701306. So, if we're following and going with Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine, that Earth no longer exists.
Yep.
Because
So,
Elektra's in the void.
yep. And according to Deadpool and Wolverine, poor Devil did not make it. Elektra is not too beaten up about this.
Yeah, exactly. Ben Affleck was virtually blind as he had to wear the heavy-duty contact lenses, which blacked out most of his vision. In their big fight scene, Jennifer Garner accidentally did kick Ben Affleck so hard that in the head that he briefly blacked out. I will have things to say about that. Some of those fight scenes. This is the first time Colin Farrell ever used his own Irish accent in an American movie. When Michael Clark Duncan was cast, he weighed 305 pounds. He was asked to gain at least 20 pounds for the role in order to fit the physique of Kingpin. In order to do this, he would lift weights for 30 minutes a day and power lifted with 1 or 2 reps a day, as well as eating whatever he wanted. So in the comics, big surprise, big shocker, everyone. If you never read the comics, here it is. Kingpin is actually white, but in the movie, he's played by Michael Clark Duncan, who is an African American. The studio was convinced to use Duncan after several white wrestlers gave poor screen tests. However, when the original character was first written for Marvel Comics, he was sketched as an African American. But the idea was scrapped due to censors feeling that an African American villain would have struck nerves in the media. The character was introduced in 1967 during the Civil Rights Movement. I think that's just a poor excuse.
Yeah.
I think they just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. And Michael Clark Duncan shines in this movie.
Yeah.
Like
Great.
He looks physically menacing, and they had their fight scene, and the image of him standing in front of the glass looking out, like he encaptures that bold presence that Kingpin needs. So I mean, it was a good choice.
Yeah. 20 years after, 20 years after the film release, Mark Steven Johnson, who's the director, revealed he faced backlash over his decision to colorblind cast the role of Kingpin. The villain is a white male in the comics, as we just said, but Johnson felt Michael Clark Duncan was the best actor for the job and cast him, which, as you hear, David and I both agree. Oh yeah, I got a lot of blowback. Johnson said it's the strangest catch-22 because you want to have opportunities for everyone. You say, I'm not going to pay attention to race. I'm just going to cast the right person for the role. But then you get killed for that. For some fans who say the Kingpin's supposed to be white. He's not my Kingpin. # not my Kingpin and all that stuff. So I definitely got heat on that, but I don't regret it. The decision at all. Michael was fantastic. It's hard to find a guy that big and also that formidable. Michael is definitely that guy. God bless him. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. There is nothing about the character Kingpin that says that he has to be any color skin. Any color. Michael Clark Duncan did it. He is one of the shining parts of this movie. He was a different portrayal, but in the essence, he got the Kingpin character right.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of those characters. There are certain characters where race matters, but the majority of characters, race does not matter. This is one of those where race does not matter. It is the heart and the spirit of the character, and he embodies that.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, the fight scene at the end, it mirrors exactly what I would expect in the comics. I mean, again, they portray Kingpin as freakishly big, and I think when you go to the Spider-Verse movies, they really that is their meme worthy of, okay, now we've entered a whole different kind of ridiculousness here. But
that's definitely broad shoulders with the Spider-Man, but this is just the menacing, the scary, the imposing force. He looks like someone who came up through a mob system and enforced his way into being the top through his cunningness plus his physical stature, and that's what Michael Clark Duncan embodies.
Yeah. It's all right. We're not going to go over like every single part of the movie, but where do you want to start?
I've found some interesting parts with the movie. So, we don't have to go over every part, but I do like the fact that the opening shot is a recreation of Marvel Knights Daredevil #3 with him holding on to the cross at the top of this church. For as interesting as this movie, some of the creative choices it takes, they also have some good true to form choices right there, and having this shot was an incredible way to just start it off. It was hey, we see you and we care about this character. Now, yes, there's some other things in there that then go against it, but yeah. Yeah. So I like that. I know there are a lot of other scenes that Mark Steven Johnson had done but got cut due to lots of studio interference, including the poignant death scene got cut way down because they wanted to push that PG-13 rating. So, but yeah, starting off with this and just showing that they're going for that dark, gritty tone was pretty cool for me.
Yeah, that is a cool shot, very iconic shot with it. I think they do a good job with the origin of Matt and the death of his father, but also how he got the powers with the chemicals. And if you've never read Daredevil, blow your mind at that point. You know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Matt Murdock, and Daredevil. It's an interesting history with them, with the chemicals infecting Matt, and possibly being the chemicals that take change the Ninja Turtles. I like that idea.
Yep. Well, shared origin.
Yeah, and I love the little training sequences. Again, with the music, it works. With his father training and him just kind of learning to do his powers. Oh, this is always an interesting debate in our community with the echolocation, how it's done in this movie. You're either on one side saying, it's not so bad, and others like, oh my God, what an abomination. Where do you stand on this one, David?
The echolocation in this is not too off the wall for me. Even more so like the shots with the water and the rain. There's two very clear shots with that. I think those are fun. I think it fit the time. There's a lot different stuff that you could do to make it seem like not as campy with today's technology, but at the time it to me it fit. It fit like how I would originally perceive that to be.
Yeah, I think at times where you can it's always cool to kind of see how Matt sees the world and where it is. I do like that, but man, that rain sequence with Elektra and him saying, "Oh, you're beautiful." It's like, no, I don't need that. I'm good.
Yeah. It worked for the fight scene because for the fight scene I felt like okay you're seeing a silhouette. With
Yeah.
this one you're seeing every contour of someone. I don't think raindrops are that precise that you can see a scar here or you can read her necklet and things like that. Like those aspects were a little bit suspension of belief, but yeah.
Yeah, and I like it how in the Netflix show, like, they really don't do too much with it. You know,
Yeah.
it's they don't try to pull that whole thing like we just understand, and I think that's a good way to kind of do it. But they could do something like they did in this movie, but I think they made it more gimmicky in the movie. So I don't hate it. I think where it shines, it does shine. But man, it's bad. It's like, ooh, no, we're good.
Yeah.
um,
Point of clarity, Brent has not seen the director's cut.
yeah. Well, one
So
can
sad.
dream. So sad. We're gonna ruin it all for him tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, there actually are numerous kind of either homages or actual cameos from Daredevil writers and artists. Stan Lee, the original creator, makes his cameo as the young man who Matt Murdock stops from crossing the street. He wrote Daredevil from 64 to 69. Like with everything in the Silver Age of Marvel, it's not easy to read and it's not really great. There's a lot of just like, man, Matt Murdock's an a-hole.
Yeah.
Jack Kirby, Kirby the Labus is played by Kevin Smith. He, homaging to Jack Kirby, but also Daredevil. Kevin Smith wrote, and I know, speaking of Brent, and I agree, it's one of my favorite runs too. Of
great
Guardian
run.
Devil. Yep. When he comes back and revitalizes the character under the Marvel Knights imprint. Father Everett, which is Bill Everett, Daredevil's original artist, drew the first issues of Daredevil in 1964. Joe Quesada is playing actually the rapist in the movie. Joe Quesada was at the time editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics and Daredevil artist from 1998 to 2000. Colin, a boxer, Gene Colan, another Daredevil artist from 66 to 74. John Romita, the boxer whom Jack Murdock is supposed to take a dive, is a callback to John Romita Sr., who was the artist for Daredevil in 66, and John Romita Jr. was artist from 88 to 1990, and also very recently in the Daredevil run. Kane is homaging Gil Kane, cover artist from Daredevil 71 to 78. Mark Miller, David Mack, Bendis, and other boxers. Frank Miller, Brian Michael Bendis, David Mack, also famous writers and artists. And Frank Miller is actually quickly shown dead as Bullseye pulls away from his stolen motorcycle.
Yep.
Yep. So a lot of homages and some cameos. So that's always nice. They do that kind of history. I always found it interesting. I do find it interesting when we get seeing how Matt lives and seeing how he interacts with the world at that point. I think they did a good job. I think that one of the things they do well, I think, is not be too jokey about the whole him being blind and how a blind person would live in his life. It's always a joke that justice is blind, so you got the blind lawyer. I love the moment when Foggy's trying to mess with him, played by John Favreau, and he tries to mess with Matt by messing up his coffee at that point, and Matt very quickly, switches him around.
Yeah. So he puts mustard instead of the honey that he requests.
Yep.
Matt does other things, like they have a scene where he's getting ready and he's folding his bills, which is something that, in the blind community, that's what they do. They fold their bills so that they can readily identify what a 10, a 5, a 20, things like that, based upon the way that they're folded. So they do play into that very well, and it's not campy and it's not jokey how they do it. It's okay. We are showing real aspects of how a blind man would go about his day.
Yeah. Pippa Jack saying, I need that Smith and Soul omnibus, waiting for the reprint. Yeah, don't pay those crazy prices. Don't do that. I do like when, it's all about when Elektra walks in, and man, they make her, Jennifer Garner's a beautiful woman at that point, but man, they they definitely make it. She is the angel walking in, and Matt smells, and I love the comment when he drinks Foggy drinks the coffee that's the one with the mustard in it, and he basically kind of gags on it, and she goes, "Friend of yours?" He's like, "I've never actually seen him before." And
never seen that man in my life.
Never seen him in my life. And I love those kind of things. That's kind of humor that's saying someone could be eye rolly, but that actually works at that moment. Because it plays into who Matt Murdock is. He's that kind of charmer and does have that kind of sense of humor.
There was some cheesy dialogue, but there was also some fun, and yeah, that seems like him dialogue. I know there's one scene where he's listening to his answering machine, and the girl's leaving the message, and she's like, "Are you there? Of course you're not there. You're never there. At least not to me." And I'm like, "Oh, this is the most cheesy breakup voicemail I've ever heard." Like stuff like that. I'm like, "All right, you guys are doing a little bit too much in the campy." But then there's other things like that line about that and some other ones that were just like, yeah, I get it. It matches the character. That is something that I feel like Daredevil would say.
Now, how about speaking of when Matt meets Elektra at that point, and they have their little battle, their tete-a-tete little battle on the playground,
fight
on the seesaw. I'm sorry, that even when I first saw it, I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me? Come on!"
You guys did Chinese wires all for a seesaw fight. Like that's a lot of wasting your budget.
This is gonna be
buddy.
so cool. It's gonna be bad. It doesn't come off good, and it's like, oh man, you thought it was good. I bet you. I mean, you planned a lot of work to do it, but it's just no. Come on.
Yeah, I thought you were blind, and them going back and forth, him smelling her mid-fight, it just all these, like, I don't know who choreographed this, but it was it was interesting.
Well, give me a second because I'm gonna go over my shelf. I'm 95% sure it is definitely a callback to, actually the Bendis run of Daredevil when they do have a fight on a playground with him and Echo. So give me a second. You kind of talking. Let me go grab my Omni first to check on that. But I'm almost convinced that that's what they modeled it after.
Yeah. So again, this is our first real seeing of Matt Murdock just kind of getting a feel for people. We've done the echo for the listening, we have done these other aspects, but they have their whole meeting and they're getting to know each other. And there is some weird moments here, like you have Matt sensing that the rain is going to come beforehand, and that's when Alicia's like, "No, it's a sunny day." Things like that. So you're getting aspects of his senses. Just it's more than the listening. It's more than um, the heightened senses. It's so heightened that he can feel that change in the air pressure coming on that says that it's going to rain. Now, I did have a little bit of a problem with a part of this scene where, it's raining. They're having their steamy makeout because the studio wanted a love story in this, and he hears someone's crying for help. And as I told someone else, I think this is the only movie where I think the hero decided to ditch the person who needed help in order to go with the love interest. So that's the only part that I was like, yes, Matt is a romantic, but would he really just ditch the person who's crying out for help to go canoodle with Elektra?
Oh yeah, you talk about the lovemaking scene.
Yeah, it's just the way that it happened, the hearing the person cry out for help, and then like, no, stay with me, and he's like, okay.
Sure,
So
why not? So yeah, I'm just looking at it, so I take it back. Not the Bendis run, but when we did back over after um, Kevin Smith's arc at that point. I'm going through it, the where they're oh yeah, here we go. The playground. Yeah, let me see. I think they kind of model a couple of things after it, but there wasn't necessarily a playground sequence. But there's certain things that just homage to the something in the Echo run. So, yeah, it was a good idea. It just stuck out at me at that point. But
yeah,
yeah, but not bad.
and
So, anyways, where do you want to talk about next?
let's see. So with this, we have. Do we want to go into what goes on with the director's cut? Because we start having two different
Yeah.
stories.
Um.
We
Yeah.
you have the Coolio story
Yeah.
and everything else.
So the confession booth scenes between father. So these are if you've never seen director's cut, we're about to spoil it at that point. So Brent, we might save you the time. So the confession booth scene between father Stephen and Matt Murdock is no longer in the movie. The lovemaking scene between Elektra and Matt has also been removed. The flashback scene where young Matt is seen with his adopted mother featured in the comic book. There are more scenes involving Kingpin and is at his most vicious, at a point of killing two of his own bodyguards and breaking their necks. I do remember that was a pretty vicious. That was pretty baller there. The introduction of Bullseye arriving at the airport and going through the metal detector. That was a cool sequence.
Yeah.
The fight scene in the playground with Matt and Elektra is longer. Yeah, that no. that was not looking forward to seeing. Said, man, I didn't like it to begin with. Then now it made it longer. Yeah, no.
And all the kids sitting around watching as this is going on. There's no parents around. This is a public playground. I'm just again, what's going on here?
Yeah. The scene in the bar where Daredevil takes out the bikers is longer and more violent. An exchange during the Nachos party where Foggy and Wesley have a verbal exchange that ends by Foggy saying, "What a dick."
Yeah.
Scene where Matt returns from his battle in the opening of the film. He is seen in his apartment pouring Epsom salts into water of his coffin, and as he is about to lay down, he starts to hear noises and sounds from the outside world, as seeing a woman crawling on the floor, and ends by laying down inside the coffin and the top ceiling. The subplot involving Dante Jackson Coolio, who is accused of murder, is a reintroduction in its entirety with Matt Murdock and Foggy defending him. So yeah, that's probably the biggest addition to this is that whole case, because there's no hint of that whatsoever in the theatrical.
Yeah, that is something that when I first watched this caught me completely off guard. I was like, okay, and I thought originally it was just going to be a throwaway. Now, in the original trailer, Coolio is shown. So this
Mhm.
subplot that was cut from the theatrical release is shown pieces of it in the trailer. They expound on it more. It has a whole running thread through there. So while we're also getting our introductions to Kingpin at this time, we're getting our introduction to Bullseye at this time. We're also getting an introduction to the lawyer side of Matt Murdock, because the lawyer side outside of the courtroom scene with Casada is really non-existent.
Yeah, speaking of that opening sequence when, he, you know, the guy gets off, the rapist gets off with it and everything like that, and he goes into the bar and whoops everyone, and he's running for it, and he falls down in the tracks. You think that's heaven coming? That's not heaven. That's the C train.
Which this is two times now that Ben Affleck has decided I'm gonna don a costume and I'm gonna kill some people. I know that these two characters are anti-killing. You know what? I'm gonna at least get one off.
Um, but how about before going into a little bit more of the director's cut scenes, Joey Pants in playing Ben Urich. I think he does a good job as Ben Urich, and has got you know, in the comics, Ben Urich does figure out who Matt Murdock is, and but I love his intro saying, "And there he is, and there's the other half of him."
Yep. So yeah, this was a good pick. He played that role very well the entire time. Like, he's very inquisitive. You can tell like he's not some bumbling person. When he's at the coroner's office and he's talking to Kirby and
Yeah,
he's looking at things, like he's putting things together. He's very intuitive. He picks up on the little things when he meets Matt. Like, he sees his cane then, so then when he sees it
the cane
later,
switching. I did like that kind of gimmick. That was kind of cool. I like that idea.
yeah. So uh, I like the fact that, again, we don't have just this bumbling investigative reporter. Like, you actually have something really going on. And I know it was a running joke within the movie about the reporters focusing on the alligators in the sewer,
Mm.
but the fact that he was like, no, this is a real thing. He noticed the double D's that were done in the gasoline that the cops didn't
Yeah.
notice. Like, he's very much looking out.
Yeah. Now, again, another thing before we get back to the director's cut ideas. What did you think of the suit? Like the suit they made at that point. It's definitely a very, I'm gonna say, kind of biker esque. You know?
It's very bikerous. I think they overdid the leather a bit. Seeing some of the behind the scenes and some of the other choices they had, this was definitely the better of the choices. I'm glad they didn't go with the version with the hood. They had the version with kind of the do-rag over the eyes, but that was a different color of red. So I did miss, a more prominence of the double D. I did miss like it really feeling like Daredevil. Just it felt like a red leather outfit with some horns on it. It didn't quite feel Daredevil,
Mm.
but
Yeah. I mean,
except for in the final scene when he does the jump off of the church and he's throwing up the cane, like in that moment, I was like, okay, it looks and feels like Daredevil, but throughout the rest of it, I really didn't get that feel.
yeah, it's hard to say. Like we said, it's like I said, it's very biker esque. A lot of leather. When you look into the comics, it looks very skin tight, and there's not a lot of armor to it. Now, Daredevil did have a time where he was wearing an armored costume, so there is precedent for that. And as we said, that's a certain run of the comics it is based off of. But I didn't mind the suit as much. When we have it compared to what we've had with Charlie Cox at that point. Yeah, there's a big. I prefer the Charlie Cox suit versus Daredevil. But this wasn't bad. I don't have too many issues with it. But outside of like, man, that's a lot of leather on that.
It to me, it looks like a red version of the X-Men suits from the Fox series.
There. So getting into some of the other director's cut parts, Matt and Foggy break into the apartment of Lisa Tazio, the murder victim in Dante Jackson's trial, finding a clue. Late night scene where Foggy is working at the office trying to figure out the clue in Tazio's apartment, in which Karen Page, is played by Ellen Pompeo, who is very famous for Grey's Anatomy. So,
Yep.
um,
Yeah, she gets a lot more shine in this, and I am surprised that her scenes were cut because Karen Page is such a vital character. But again, with the studio wanting more of the love interest aspect between Daredevil and Elektra, I guess they had to cut this out to not confuse the general audience.
they also don't understand Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock is likes sleeping around a lot.
He's not one for the one love interest type deal.
No.
It would definitely fit for him having 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, the scene in the morgue where Yurik and Kirby is longer, in which Foggy ends up calling him on his cell phone and telling him about who murdered his informant from the clue that Matt had found in the murder victim's apartment. More scenes with Matt and Ben discussing some personal issues. Matt interrogating a corrupt police officer played by don't know who that actor is, by smashing his car in the parking lot. A scene where Bullseye demands his own costume is restored to "I want an effing costume," as opposed to theatrical version where he says "I want a bloody costume." Oh, we're going with the TNT made for TV movie.
The voiceover.
Yes. The fight between Elektra and Bullseye is longer and ends with Bullseye giving her a kiss before he throws her onto the roof of the adjacent building. The final confrontation between Daredevil and the Kingpin is longer and more brutal. And during the finale, Dante Jackson celebrates his acquittal by hugging Foggy on the steps of the courthouse as Matt looks on, and the scene shifts with Matt walking by the church where he sees Father Stephen after the afternoon mass has ended. So those are, again, I think it is the other thing that these are big things. One of the things besides the huge addition of the Coolio, the whole subplot with the trial, this movie does not come off. The theatrical comes off as, because at one point, Matt and Elektra started dating, and then Kingpin puts a hit out on Elektra's father, who won't wheel and deal with him at that point. So what's Kingpin gonna do? Well, I'm gonna take him out. So you get that whole sequence where Bullseye comes into town and takes down the driver of the limo where Elektra and her father are in, and he basically kills her father as Daredevil tries to stop him, but he ends up killing her father with one of Daredevil's billy clubs, and she, for some reason, I thinks that Daredevil killed it. It's like, wait a minute, no, that's not Daredevil, that's Bullseye. Come on, you saw them both.
She's there for the entire fight. She knows who the aggressor is and who the person who's trying to save is, and you've been reading, I'm guessing, reading the newspapers, hearing about this devil of Hell's Kitchen, knowing that he's been this vigilante. So you really think that he would do this? Use some common sense here, Elektra.
Yeah, that one it didn't make sense to me how that happened,
Now, I did like the scene with the Billy Club and Bullseye throwing it, and how the explosion threw off Matt's senses. Again, that's a good play on how these various things can go against him. But yeah, the fact that Elektra was there the entire time and she starts taking it out on Daredevil, even though she's lying right there. She sees all of this, but she picks up a gun and starts shooting at Daredevil, and he's running away you know whose fault this is.
Yeah.
I get being mad and being sad and being upset, but you know whose fault this is.
Yeah. That one I never really understood. And you gotta love, again, the superhero movies in this era. You gotta have the training sequences. You gotta have, her whole training sequence with the sandbags coming down and one of them has the dare that look like the devil on there at
The
that point.
devil painted on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
But like I said, like get in Kingpin's way, he's gonna take you down. And Bullseye, even in the comics, Kingpin has used him for many times for taking out competition. Um, but I do like the homage of how Bullseye does kill Elektra, like it is in the comics, with the using her own psi against her.
Yeah. And apparently, in the way that this was originally cut, it was a lot worse. Like he made a cut to her neck, he cuts with a playing card, she's crawling around, blood dripping out. Like it was a lot more gruesome, and the studio was not having that. Again, they wanted the PG rating. They didn't want a rated R movie, but also they felt that having this slower version of her dying out would alienate the female audience.
Yeah. So before we continue on, as we get toward the end of this, we'll take our first ad break of the evening. So, as you know, listeners, these ads help get the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud, so give it that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So yeah, and I think kind of getting to the point where the director's cut is preferred by me. Also, it doesn't come off. The theatrical cut comes off. I'm going after Kingpin because he killed my girlfriend. Because of the scenes that were removed and things like that, he goes after Kingpin because he's the Kingpin, not because he went after because of killing Elektra.
Yeah. I think it makes a huge difference with that. But again, they do end up having just incredible fight scenes. I will say that with the exception of the park, all the rest of the fight scenes in here are very well done.
Yeah. But yeah, and again, he has that moment where all the heroes like, oh, I'm questioning myself. I don't want to be Daredevil anymore. When Elektra's killed, or no, it wasn't when Elektra's killed. When her father's killed, and he's like, oh, I shouldn't do this anymore. And it's very cliche of the age.
Yeah. You have to have that moment for the superhero. I mean, we saw it with Spider-Man. We've seen it with other, like, why am I doing this? Am I doing the right thing? Is this my purpose? You have to fit it into each and every superhero movie at some point.
Yeah. But we said it earlier, like the fight scene when I like the fight scene between him and Daredevil, Bullseye and Daredevil in the church. That was great. It put two of these, biggest arch nemesis in the comics, Bullseye and Daredevil. I think that whole sequence was great. I don't necessarily care for, and this is coming from even the Bendis run, I never really cared for the whole Bullseye being in the trench coat with the, Bullseye literally etched into his forehead at that point.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's gritty for gritty's sake, and it comes off as, it didn't come off good in the comics, in my opinion, and it really comes off as laughable in the movie.
Yeah, it's the cheesiest part of him. Now, the Colin Farrell plays the character amazing. The scene in the church fight where he kicks the stained glass, catches it, and then just starts using them as projectiles and things like that. Like, they have a great fight. He's smart enough to know, okay, let me ring the church bell to throw off your equilibrium. There's all these cool, the character itself has all these cool moments, but yeah, the black trench coat over the undershirt tee and the tattooed bullseye on the forehead, just it's a little bit biker gangish and not as menacing as Daredevil or as Bullseye is in the comics. Now, I did find it funny, the scene when he is about to impale Daredevil and he gets shot through the hands.
Yep.
Like, this the sniper's getting ready to take shot, and I don't know how the sniper knows who to shoot because again he's shooting through a stained glass unless he just knows whose silhouette is which. But Daredevil hears the cocking of the gun and pushes Bullseye's hands in position to have him get shot through both hands. You know, you have the stigmata there in the middle of the church, the Catholic imagery, which again works for Daredevil. But yeah, that's just a fun moment. Um, Before what we think is again Daredevil trying to kill somebody by throwing him out of the window of the church.
Yeah, and then we come to the big fight scene with Kingpin, like we've already kind of go over. It is an epic film. Love the water in the background, love the water around him, and how it helps him see and things like that. But the whole thing that Kingpin was the person who ended up killing his father because he wouldn't take a dive.
Yeah, I like how Kingpin knew he was coming from. Like Wesley came in, told him what happened with Bullseye, and so he just starts taking off his cufflinks, taking off everything else. I like the fact that he left the suspenders on, and he's just standing there looking out over New York like the boss that he is, not scared of nothing, just ready to fight this man still in his suit slacks and suspenders.
Suspenders of disbelief, right?
So yeah, they go on to have their fight. As Kingpin is trash talking, Daredevil realizes that there are water outlets throughout this entire room, and he breaks one, which starts the sprinklers going off, and so that helps him kind of get a leg up. They continue their fight. I did like the defensive move by Daredevil to slide under Kingpin using the water and then kicking out the back of his knees to take the big man down.
Yeah. And then you come to the end where, they got to have that little thing of like he finds like Elektra's necklace on the roof and it's like, oh my God, she's alive.
Ooh, sequel.
No, we're not going to talk about that one. I don't think we're going to be watching that as a retro.
Oh God, no! Please, I hope not.
So, but I mean, all in all, I mean, again, jokes aside, we both still enjoy this movie. Yeah, let's see. The budget was reported at 78 million. It made 179.2 million at the box office. The success, obviously it was not a huge hit.
I mean, it came out on Valentine's Day. This is not a Valentine's Day movie, so that was just an odd choice.
It was my kind of Valentine's Day movie, I'll tell you that much. After the negative and critical audience reactions and Ben Affleck's refusal to play the character a second time, numerous producers and screenwriters were attached to a potential Daredevil reboot, and an initial deadline of October 10th, 2012 was set. If the movie didn't start filming before that date, the rights would go back to Marvel Studios. David Slade was originally attached to direct before dropping out over a scheduling conflict in August 2012. Joe Conaruch pitched a sizzle reel to 20th Century Fox executives depicting the character in a hard-boiled 1970s set thriller in Manhattan, but the studio chose to let the live-action film rights lapse and went back to Marvel. According to Gary Foster, Avi Arad, and Mark Steven Johnson, the director's cut was in fact the original intended theatrical release. It was a last-minute decision to make the changes necessary to please 20th Century Fox to get a PG-13 rating. Let's see. 20 years after the film's release, Mark Steven Johnson admitted that part of the movie's failure came from the decision to over-cram the story. Looking back on it, one of the mistakes I made with the film was wanting to put everything in it. I wanted to do a Daredevil origin story, I wanted to do the Elektra saga, and I wanted to introduce Bullseye and Foggy. I wanted to do everything in there, but the film could not only support so much, and when you're told to cut half an hour out of it and make it more of a love story, things start to feel rushed and not quite right. It's a fan thing. When you love something so much, you want to tell it all. And he's not wrong. Yes, again, the movie comes off as a love story.
Yeah. I will say one of the greatest effects because of this movie is we got Jon Favreau in a talking session with Sony and Marvel, which him having that time with Marvel is what helped launch the MCU. So
Yeah.
thank you for taking this role of Foggy, which then got you in front of the right people, and we have a whole Marvel Cinematic Universe as a result.
Exactly. So, but yeah, so if you were to put a rating out of this out of 10, what would you put it as?
Theatrical, I will say 6, and then director's cut, I will say 7. It is definitely a product of its time and should be viewed in the vacuum of such. I would not, haven't seen the current Daredevil runs and stuff like that. That does shine a very big difference on it. But if you view it as what it was for its time, what it the aspects of the character that they did infuse this with and the fun that they let them have with this, I would say it's at least a 6.
Yeah, I'm a little different. I theatrical cut is about a 5, and the director's cut is like 6.2. So, but
Fair.
again, it's a movie. I don't necessarily oppose to watching it. Like I own both the theatrical and the director's cut, and if I feel like coming on, I'll give it a watch. It's not something I regret. So, but yeah, so that is our kind of retro review of uh, Daredevil at that point. So let us get into some listener feedback. So this is coming from last week. Jim Scruggs had a good question that he put in the chat, and we're gonna answer it this week. So the question is, what changes would you make to the MCU release order? So for purposes, let's just stick with the Infinity Saga. You know,
Yeah.
so kind of going down the list. We start off with Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America: First Avenger, the Avengers. That's kind of makes up Phase 1. Any kind of order that you think you would change with this one?
I like the release order of Phase 1. I thought that Phase 1 did a very good job of its build up to the Avengers. So I don't think that I would change anything that happened with that. Having the build up to Captain America and then that being the lead in to me made sense. So I would leave that kind of build up where it was.
Yeah, I know the easy answer was, well, obviously, it'd be Captain America: The First Avenger should go first and then move towards that. I said, I can see that, but I don't know if it would have hit as hard in the sense with the audience with that movie. I think it can come off a little bit too campy, um, a little bit too nostalgic. I love The First Avenger. It's also done. I really love it for a lot of reasons because one of the main people who directs this is Joe Johnston, who's directed Rocketeer, and you can see a lot of Rocketeer influences in that um, movie. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you. I think starting with Iron Man was a good choice. It felt very modern. It's what they wanted to kind of establish and get the kind of coolness, and Robert Downey Jr. really does a good job. So I'm with you. I don't think we need to move out any order. So heading into Phase 2, Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and ending with I think we qualify Ant-Man as the epilogue to. Um,
Yep.
is that the epilogue to Phase 2? So if I were to move something around, I would move. I, I'm I kind of want to move Winter Soldier to be the first one.
I would agree with that. I think that having coming out of Avengers and continuing to ride the Captain America wave would have been great. Iron Man 3 was what it was. Thor: The Dark World could be situated anywhere in there. and then Guardians of the Galaxy showing that broad range before we're coming back to Avengers. I think it was situated in a good spot. So I would move Captain America up. So I'd go Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, and then Ant-Man kind of has to be where it is because it leads into the next phase.
Yeah. And I know some people will say, well, wouldn't that kind of change, like, with Shield going down? Wouldn't that kind of change maybe a little bit of the story with Iron Man 3? Shield really doesn't play too much of a part in Iron Man 3. You know,
No.
it's still him. He can still deal with the PTSD, and it could be kind of going. You know, a lot of times these movies can be going, and these things could be going on a little simultaneously, but it's not necessary. I get why people say, well, it kind of loses the luster of the PTSD that Tony's going through at that point. It says, yeah, I mean, right after it, but it doesn't have to be, you know.
Yeah, that PTSD can survive Captain America coming out first. And also I think that if you have the fall of the government, you can have what's going on with Hydra and everything with this. That would lead a little bit more to why Tony would be pissed at Rhodey for being Iron Patriot. Like you could use those to play into some of that. Why are you siding with this government? We just saw that there's corruption running rampant through there. That can build a little bit more of Rhodey's patriotism versus Tony's wanting to then go, okay, I need to put a suit of armor around the world because I can't trust the government.
Now, here's an idea. Would you move Avengers Age of Ultron to earlier instead of ending the phase, maybe being towards like the middle, and not kind of drag out the after effects of the fall of Shield?
I think that if you were to do Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Age of Ultron, and then push Guardians of the Galaxy back because that also doesn't need the effects of Age of Ultron, you could do that. Because you have to explain what's going on with Thor, but also have that little bit of a break before, the Avengers all come back together. So if you're going to do it, I would do it that way. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, and then Age of Ultron.
Gotcha. All right, so we move on to phase 3, probably the longest of the phases in the sense of, I think, the number of movies. Captain America Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardian of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Endgame, and Far From Home as our epilogue. I'm kind of looking at this. Let's kind of take this. I think this is going to be a little tougher. So I think we might want to take this film by film. So Captain America Civil War, I say it's appropriately placed to open up. What about you?
I agree. My biggest thing that I would do is just move Spider-Man Homecoming and Black Panther closer to that because they are both
Okay.
fallouts of Civil War.
Yeah, I like that. I definitely agree with that. I would probably, because it's a very interesting juxtaposition. I would move. I'm trying to.
And that
It's got
also
kind of
for
like
when we do see Cap again and he's much older in the events of Infinity War, like having that space where okay, we've knocked out Civil War, we've done Spider-Man and we've done Black Panther. Now we're going into Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor. Here's where we're exploring what everyone else is doing. So when we come back in Infinity War, him being older, having the beard, being a lot more
yeah.
grustled makes sense because we've had a little bit more time that's passed.
Yeah, I'm just trying to debate, like, saying, what would I put first? Would I put Homecoming first or Black Panther first? And part of me says Civil War, Homecoming, then Black Panther. Because
Yes.
it's a good, I think, in the sense of tonal, Civil War being, a pretty serious kind of movie. You switch to tonal a little bit of, yes, directly happening after you get that, but then you tonal back to, Black Panther. I think, yeah, Civil War, Homecoming, Black Panther. would we still follow that with Doctor Strange?
Yeah, we can. After that, we can flow into Doctor Strange and then Guardians too.
Yep. And then followed by Ragnarok. And Ragnarok actually, again, could lead directly into Infinity War. And here's the thing, like, then we get into Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel. You can put these movies. I mean, I get the post credits kind of holds Infinity War, Ant-Man to after Infinity War. So yeah, I mean that's kind of stuck there. Captain America. I mean, both these are post credits kind of things. Like the bulk
Yeah.
of the movie, not doesn't have much to do and doesn't hold hints. It's the post credit scenes. You know.
Yeah. So I think those are just placeholders
They're kind
to,
of
to get you, yeah, to get you through to Endgame. Like they don't advance the plot of the between time of those, with the exception of the end credits.
Yeah. So, and then Far From Home's got to stay right there because of the events of Endgame.
Yep.
It is everything. It's post Endgame for that movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was a good question. I'm sorry. Again, we show we could go on for that one, Jim. But I like the question. I figured just kind of keeping it to the first three phases because we have other issues with the current trilogy we got going on here, current new trilogy of phases at that point. So, but yeah, thanks for sending that question in, and let me pull up to Factor Fictions. All right, Factor Fiction number 1. In Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Doom will meet a variant where he is a genuine hero and created a true utopia on Earth. Instead of changing his ways, Doctor Doom will kill them and destroy the entire universe. 67% in fact, 33% in fiction. Number 2, in Avengers Doomsday, Doctor Doom will kill all of his variants, similar to how Kang was rumored to do the same thing in the Council of Kangs in Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. 88% in fact, 12% in fiction. And finally, Moon Knight will be recast. 50-50 split. They're not sure on that one. So
Yeah, that last one, what was kind of the hardest one to be a little bit more definitive on.
yep. So all right, your turn this week, David. What you got?
Okay, question number 1. We will get a live action masked version of Miles Morales Spider-Man in Secret Wars.
So we'll get Miles.
Masked, not unmasked,
Masked.
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 We would at least get masked. Now, hey, they could bless us with an unmasked version, but I think that we will at least get a masked version.
And when is the final installment of the Spider-Verse coming out?
Who knows at this point?
And that is what my problem is. I said I want it to happen, but they've been pretty clear that until that trilogy concludes, we are not going to see Miles in the MCU. And so,
and that's why I think it will only be a masked version. I think that we will have.
I don't think we're going to see anything like that because I think that's basically thumb in their nose at what they've kind of talked about. That you're not going to see anything with Miles. I think that's I want to see it, but I don't think we're going to see it. Because the trilogy wouldn't have been wrapped up, or at least they haven't given the breathing room to it.
Yeah, current release date is June 18th, 2027.
And when Secret Wars?
Let's see.
I think it's December 27. Yeah, it should be
December 17th.
Yeah, 27
of 27. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we're seeing it. I think they're going to give it. Even though the movie technically has come out, I don't think they're going to let them play that game. So, but I want it, but I say fiction on that. You're saying fact?
I'm saying fact on that.
Okay.
I think that it's a 6-month differential. Like I said, we may not get unmasked, but I think we will at least get some form of the masked version of Miles Morales.
All right.
All right.
What you got for 2?
A variant of a previous Sony Spider-Man villain will also appear in Secret Wars.
A variant of a previous Sony villain.
So this will be a way to bring back or recast,
Venom.
Doc Ock, Green Goblin, all
Venom.
these people that we've had before. This
It's
this
Morbin
could-
time.
we're going to get a variant that leads to a recasting of these characters.
Sure, bring on Venom. We all want it. Yeah. Everyone
Yep.
else, no.
All right. So
What about you? What
and
do you
number
think?
I think we'll get it. I think at least one. Spider-Man is so iconic, and if they're going to keep going with any, like, you have to bring in some of these characters, and you can't limit yourself to the fact that, oh well, the Sonyverse already used all these people, or we've already used these within our MCU. So recreating a character just from a different timeline, different actor, best way to do it.
Yeah. So, all right, what you got for number 3?
Number 3, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II will wear a version of the W costume in Wonder Man.
Yeah, I think that's a fact.
Yeah.
You won't see me making too many predictions on Wonder Man.
That was my easy layup. I could see a scene where he's screen testing or something and puts on the costume just for them to be like, yeah, no,
Yep.
we can't. This doesn't work. We need more realism. So, but I do want to see him in some version of the W costume. I know there's the scene of him sitting in the movie theater watching an older actor with a version of it, but I want to see him in the version of the W.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, I will put those out on Sunday afternoon, so let your voices be heard with that. And then, as always, well, before that, let's take our final ad break before we get into comic book club. So, as you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on in the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they can be a bit loud, so give that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. All right. So, comic book club issue number 5 of a Spider-Man life story. We're in the 2000s. So, I said it that, the last issue, it was probably my low point for this. Man, this was a banger of an issue. It's definitely one of my favorite kind of storylines, bringing in Moreland and the Inheritors. But it's just Moreland in this time. But man, they in a couple of short pages, they show how bad of a threat Moreland is.
Yeah, and the fact that he instantly knows, he's like, you're not Spider-Man, you're an imposter, a copy. I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, and as soon as he grabs it by the throat, I said, yeah, he's done.
Yep.
He gone. But yeah, we see Peter in where he's out west and looking all grizzled, looking all that mountain man, and his daughter's giving him lip, and they come and find out that Ben is dead. And he's revealed to Peter Parker is Spider-Man. It's like, jibs up, gigs up.
Yep. So,
but yeah, so he's not having it. He's saying, you guys got to get out of here. I'm gonna go take this down. I don't want him finding you out. So, I like how the subtle name drop of, Ezekiel, who we haven't seen at all in this entire series. I like that. Again, we're not going to see everything, but the things that we know in Spider-Man lore and Spider-Man history has happened.
Yeah, I do like the moment when he's arguing with his daughter and she's like, you have to go back to New York. You have to go be Spider-Man again. And he's like, Claire, I haven't been. And she's like, quit playing. I know when you went on your business meeting, you put on that mask. How could you not? You're addicted to it. Like, I like that moment.
Well, especially like you see when he did it was 9/11.
Yeah. He's like, what? Like, people without powers were sacrificing himself. Of course, you jumped in to help.
Yeah. And, we get Tony being, I don't even know what his official role, he's Secretary of Defense, excuse me. But he's, like it was in the comics, but Superhero Registration Act, so that's a thing. And, he comes back and basically goes on the record of, this is, that really wasn't me. I'm really Peter, and kind of puts it on the record, trying to get, and gives the story to the Daily Bugle.
Yeah, it's a cool little moment. He's like, hey, I have to go and tell the world that I'm the real Peter Parker. He's the one who was filling in for me and things like that, and Betty Brant is the one running the Daily Bugle at this
Yeah, which
point.
is
So
cool.
that's who he gives the exclusive to. So it's a cool little wink and a nod there. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, Tony is pissed that he did not have this information ahead of time.
Yeah, and he says, "Join me, sign up, and you all will be fine." He's like, Peter's like, "No, I'm not doing it." So there's these registered heroes. You know, we see Captain Marvel, we see She-Hulk, we see War Machine, we see a Black Widow in an Iron Man armor. I don't know who the other person is in the gold Iron Man armor. Is it supposed to be a Spider-Man
That's
thing?
I think that's supposed to be an Iron Fist by the
Oh, you're right. Yep, Iron
insignia
Fist. Yep,
on the
you're right.
chest.
Yep, I see it now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yep, and so while they're fighting and trying to take Peter down, Moreland come calling at the house, and we're like, "Oh no, that's not going to be good." But then that's going on. We get Captain America looking all grizzled with Luke Cage, Hawkeye, Cloak and Dagger, part of the Resistance, back in Peter's plane. They're able to take down Iron Man, and he's basically saying, "I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Fix yourself." I love that when he goes into the Parker Industries and gets the suits and get the kind of Batman moment, what suit is
Yeah.
he going to do, and he gets the ends of the earth one, which is appropriate, I think, because of his advanced age.
Yeah. I thought that was a cool moment. Him jumping into the window of Parker Industries, pulling the book on the bookshelf to reveal this room where he has all his costumes in, and he knows that, hey, it's time to don a new costume and go save his family.
Yeah, and but Moreland's chasing after them, and they make a quick discovery when he tries to drain his daughter. She's able to scratch him, and she says, like, wait a minute, we can figure this out. Like, he's vulnerable while he's feeding, and so his son Benji makes a big sacrifice, and gives his life so that his sister can take him down. And I mean, we're left to believe she is able to kill Moreland, but we're left to believe at this moment that Benji is dead.
Yeah.
And
So
Peter's nowhere to be seen because he's in New York and he has no idea what's happened.
yeah, they're still in the middle of the fight with Iron Man's forces now. Peter does make a cool little move when he's talking about how Tony's manipulative, egotistical, and untrusting, and then he lets off this electrical pulse that shuts down all of Tony's team. And he's like, "Yeah, you put a failsafe in your own people, and I just exploited it to beat your entire
Yeah.
team."
Yep. But yeah, we end with him, getting ready to head home. He's not gonna, he's by Cap, but he's not gonna be fighting alongside him. He cares about his family, wants to go home, and that's where we left it. To the next issue, we're gonna see, at the decade later after the ramifications of what happened with Moreland and his family. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so we will come back to that in 2 weeks. And it's not the final issue. It's the final issue of the main story, but we do have an annual after that is pivotal to this series. So, but yeah, so volume 278 in the books, a nice little fun episode looking at Daredevil 2003, and I hope you all enjoyed that. And, but yeah, David, tell people how they can follow you.
You can follow me on all socials at The Phantom. You can follow me here on the Geek First Network, part of our wrestling show, The Gimmick. We have recordings this weekend and next. So we've got some fallout from Full Gear and some other events that are coming up that we're super excited for. We got Survivor Series coming up. So we will be doing recordings this weekend and next weekend. So look out for those live on Sundays. And so, yeah, that's where you can follow me talking all things wrestling, and then on social media is at The Phantom talking just any random nerdness.
Yes, and you can follow me on Twitter and all the socials at Chris Balga. You can follow this podcast on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network. You can feel free to tweet, email everyone to provide feedback, ask questions. DMs are open across the board. Continue to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. Just a reminder again, we are not live. No episode next week so that David and I can be with our families for American Thanksgiving. For those of you that are celebrating, enjoy, eat some good food, hang out with your friends and family. Thank you all, as always, for listening. We are always thankful for you and everyone. And as always, thank you, Mr. Snell. Just want to give you that little thanks there. Don't ever say I don't ever thank you. And but yes, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us live in the chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right. So post credits discussing this week. I know you usually did, but it was a topic that I think that you probably would have chosen anyways, but I figured just put it out there. Rumor is that it is not Tom Holland that will be in Avengers Doomsday, but Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man being in Avengers Doomsday. Thoughts, possible plot involving him. What do you say? Is it the truth that there will be no Tom Holland because of scheduling things, but they want a Spider-Man in there, so they're gonna find a way to put Tobey Maguire in Avengers Doomsday? What do you think? Is this just a glorious cameo that we're going to get like 10 seconds out of? It's not going to amount to much, or are we going to have some significant Tobey Maguire action in here?
I could see this being a thing, but I do not see it being more than a 5 to 10 minute Maguire experience. I feel like he could come back and play the Spider-Man of Doom's world, and who eventually is killed off or taken out, or we see him in a flashback going toe to toe with Doom, and then them saving Tom Holland Spider-Man for Secret Wars. But I don't see Toby going all out with this movie. I mean, I love the guy. I love him as Spider-Man, but he is legitimately getting up there, and the whole "I've got a bad back" is a real thing. So this may be a situation where he is just the Spider-Man of that world, but not our Spider-Man going forward. I don't think he's going to have a lot of time.
So what you're saying is like he's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but he's not the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man that we're used to. Like he just happens
Correct.
to be okay.
He just happens to have the same face, and I think that there will be, like with a lot of these Elseworld things, there's some people who share a face, and some people.
We're
Sorry,
over.
a lot of these multiversal things where there's some people who share a face and some people who don't. I think this will be a situation where this one shares a face, and if he does survive, then again, that will lead credence to a fact or fiction that I had a couple of weeks ago where, they run into each other, and it could be a situation where Tom's like, "Hey, remember me? We met," and he's like, "Wrong guy, wrong Spider-Man."
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting idea to put out there. I think I'm not saying audiences can't say that, but I don't think they would do that. I don't see them doing that with Tobey Maguire just because of how much in the general audience just sees it and just makes that association. I'm not saying they can't handle it if they tell him that, but I don't know if they want to do that with his character. I'm a little apprehensive in the sense of I worry about how long Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is going to be for this world. I could see them killing him off in this movie, and that'll definitely be a gut punch because it's kind of like Infinity War. The heroes are going to lose, and they're going to lose bad. This could be a major gut punch to it. But my geek side, my heart says, nope, he's going to somehow survive. He's going to be kind of taken down. I think the gut punch is he's going to survive, but his Earth is going to be destroyed, and he's going to lose everything. And that is a Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker that I kind of want to see how he deals with something like that, because it's very much then what Andrew Garfield, his world was Gwen. He gets vengeful. Well, how does Peter deal with that when, he says, like, I've got MJ, we found a way. Now, we don't know if he's had a kid, but maybe that's who this Sadie Sink is. Is it Tobey Maguire's, Mayday Parker? I know that's a fun little thing that's going around, but I think he's going to be there for a little bit more. His world's going to be destroyed by Doom, and he's going to have a big part coming into Secret Wars.
So you think he's going to go I'm going to call it the Miles Morales route. And when I say that, I'm referencing the Ultimate line of comics where the worlds were destroyed outside of Secret Wars, but he remained just got displaced into a different timeline.
And I want to see how a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man handles that when his world is gone. His MJ's gone. If he's had a kid, possibly gone. Yeah. And maybe this Sadie Sink character, if she's anything at that point, if they're trying to kind of meld multiverse and street level, maybe she is another Spider character like they did with in Spider-Verse, like, Spider-Gwen. Could be something like that. Like, has no connection to any of them outside of being related to a version of a Spider-Man family,
Yeah.
So, but figured it was fun to talk about. We'll see if it's true. As always, these rumors are just fun to talk about. But all right, again, we will see you all in 2 weeks. Enjoy your Turkey Day, everyone, if you celebrate, and eat some good food, spend some time with those families, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Have a good holiday.